Hello， 大家好，係啊，我哋上個禮拜六先同大家話，好耐冇見，咁我哋咁快，我哋星期二我哋又同大家見面啦。係啦，咁我哋上個禮拜我哋就講英國啦，咁其實我哋今個禮拜其實咧就想同大家咧講下一個大家好耐都可能好未好耐冇聽過嘅房產國家啦，咁其實美國啊就係。咁美國咧，其實舊年大家都知道啦，其實有好多嘅因素咧，其實大家咧都取咗一個觀望態度。咁但係其實我哋由2021年開始啦，咁其實佢哋嗰邊有新總統啦，咁其實嗰個疫情亦都開始受控啦。咁我哋其實咧，我哋發覺其實喺今日想同大家講嗰個城市咧，紐約市咧，其實就佢嗰個房產嗰個市道咧，其實就比我哋想象之中咧係好多，其實係。咁其實我哋可能就覺得我哋舊年就經濟可能有衰退啊 recession 啊，咁嗰邊佢可能都比較好似都嚴重下啦嚇。咁但係其實原來2021年開始咧，其實好多咧都已經係開始復甦緊。咁其實我哋今日想同大家咧就係講下究竟而家美國New York City 究竟其實佢嗰個房產究竟嗰個市道係點啦，個樓市係點啦。咁同埋其實就係究竟我哋而家可能因為其實我哋都知道香港好多朋友咧，其實都係去都有諗過或者可能投資或者係移居去美國啊。咁其實我哋除咗之前我哋講好多個國家啦，咁其實例如話英美澳英國啊、澳洲啊、加拿大啊，咁其實美國大家都可能其實一直都係睇緊，不過爭在可能就係幾時或者係採取個觀望態度比較多啲咯。
因為無論可能年輕啲啊，或者可能家庭啊，佢哋除咗有考慮去投資移民之外，可能美國嗰邊嘅學校啦，或者留學咧，學校標準都有，可能好多都係世界級啦，咁所以都好受香港家長歡迎。
係啊，咁其實身邊嘅朋友咧，亦都好多咧，就其實本身就係可能係美國籍啦，咁其實亦都想翻過去美國啦。咁其實唔單止頭先講嗰幾個英國、澳洲嗰啲，咁有一啲咧，其實就係可能始終美國都係一個好熱門嘅留學嘅國家。咁所以其實有好多家長其實都諗緊，除咗我移民都會考慮啦，咁但係就可能仔女升學嘅問題亦都可能會考慮。咁有可能其實大家會可能諗其實我不如我喺美國會唔會都係投資下房產啊，或者可能我買定個屋俾俾小朋友啊，或者係點啦。咁所以其實我哋都其實都貫徹我哋嘅節目一直以嚟就係唔同嘅國家、唔同嘅城市，希望可以帶多啲俾，我哋唔會做死一個國家，或者我哋淨係講一個城市咁咯。咁所以今日其實我哋咧就見而家美國個我哋都都有消息啊，亦都係有嘅客戶同我哋係
各方面嘅情況都有好轉啦。咁所以今日都想同大家探討一下New York City 嗰邊嘅房產市場而家係點樣啦。咁所以希望今日節目帶俾大家嘅資訊咧，都可以俾到大家參考。但係如果咧大家需要一啲可能專業嘅問題啊，或者可能稅務啊等等嘅問題，都歡迎你哋可以私信我哋，或者揾翻專業人士意見。
係啦，咁其實我哋都想同大家去講，提供第一手嘅最新嘅資料啦。咁其實大家都可能諗啦，而家點解會係美國咧？亦都大家浮出嚟嗰個問題啊！呢個正咧就我哋今日嘅直播想同大家去講嗰個講個重點，就係點解美國，點解係 New York，同埋點解我哋今日想同大家講個城市係Manhattan 啦。咁所以我哋今日咧就其實請咗而家美國現場幫我哋做緊，我哋一陣會邀請嘅嘉賓上，佢而家就係喺美國同我哋做緊現場直播啦。咁同我哋會講下究竟點解而家係一個美國嘅好時機咧？點解係 New York 咧？點解係 Manhattan 咧？咁我哋不如我哋就介紹佢出嚟啦，係啦。好。Hi. Hi, Dan. Good morning.
Hi. Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone who's joining us in Hong Kong and around the world. My name is Dan August Cordero, and I'm here in New York City. It's a beautiful morning here in New York. And I'm here at Hudson Yards, which is probably one of the most exciting new neighborhoods in New York ever built. So good morning, everybody.
Yeah, and I just noticed that there's a building behind you. It's really amazing. So is it Hudson Yards?
Yes, we're here at Hudson Yards. I'm in one of our residential buildings, 35 Hudson Yards, and we're fronting on the beautiful plaza here at Hudson Yards. In the background, you see our cultural center, the Shed, that is this building just over here. And then this behind me is the vessel. So that's the interactive sculpture designed by Thomas Heatherwick, which is an amazing destination and an icon for our development. So it's been a wonderful centerpiece, and Thomas Heatherwick is a very well-known and very well-respected architect worldwide. So we're very excited to be here at Hudson Yards. And this is the centerpiece of our development.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. And we just when we do the opening, we just talk about like Dan, we're going to like further explain talk with us like why this is the best time or good time to invest in USA, especially New York and Manhattan. And I believe you can like update us the current situations, like what happens now in US and New York. Yeah, we're waiting for you.
Absolutely. Great. Well, I'm happy to fill everybody in and give everybody kind of the latest update on what's happening here in New York. So we can go on to the next slide. I think we're going to start with an overview of what's happening here in New York, both from an economic standpoint and just where the city is. We'll talk a little bit more about the real estate market specifically and why we think now is a great time to buy property in New York. We'll talk about how to choose the right property in New York that meets your goals and your needs. Then we'll talk about two of our most amazing featured properties, the residences at Hudson Yards, as well as the Lantern House condominium. Following that, we'll discuss some investment analysis. We'll provide some mortgage information. We'll talk about the purchase process, and then we'll take some Q&A from all of our viewers.
係咁啊，其實啱阿 Dan 同我哋都講啦，今日其實我哋嚟緊呢個節目咧，其實就會同大家即係講多啲啦，有個 overview 就係而家即係New York City 嗰個 property market 啦，咁其實亦都會有3個項目介紹俾我哋嘅，咁其實其中有一個其實Dan 而家就係喺現場
係啦，35 Hudson
Yards 係啦，咁啊之後其實咧，因為呢3個項目咧，其實大家咧而家可能都會除咗自住或者可能都會投資啦，咁所以其實 Dan 非常之好啊，其實佢都會同我哋做一個嘅即係投資嘅分析，其實究竟而家投資或者入市美國係點啦，咁啊之後其實就係大家亦都可能如果我要投資嘅，咁我都係有啲即係可能mortgage 啊，或者可能係貸款嘅即係關於錢銀嗰啲嘢，咁其實佢都同我哋講，其實而家大家可以有啲 tips 點做啦，咁啊最後當然梗係究竟即係有啲 Q&A section 啦，咁所以其實呢個就係我哋今日嗰個節目啦，係啦。Yep, over to you. Yep.
All right, wonderful. So first of all, I hope everybody who's with us today is certainly healthy and doing well. Here in New York, the coronavirus, we're very happy that we are down to our lowest cases since March of 2020. So, overall, we feel like we're making great progress. Over half of the population here in New York is vaccinated, and about 20% are children not eligible to be vaccinated. So we feel like we're making great headway. Here in the city, we've essentially reopened everything. Looking ahead to the fall, most office workers in New York City will be back in their office buildings in September, and most universities will be in person here in the fall. So as we go into the summer season, we're looking ahead to September as really getting the city entirely back to normal. Economically, and this is very important, the United States did go into a recession during 2020 as a result of the pandemic, but has been roaring back, and the economy is rebounding very strongly. And it's important that if you look at some of the growth figures on our chart, we're expecting economic growth for the United States in excess of 6% this year in 2021, which is really the strongest number that we've seen for economic growth in, decades. So even after the rebound, the market is coming back very strongly. We also see quite a bit of federal stimulus money coming into the market. There's over 1.7 trillion US dollars being funded to infrastructure. There are also individual payments made to every US citizen just for consumption. And as well, federal money is going to all the local governments. So that tends to increase inflation a little bit, but that is the ideal economic scenario for investing in real estate. Because in an inflationary environment, real estate is typically the best performing asset.
Yeah, we believe that when we see saw the data, like 54% of the New York citizens they got vaccinated, and we believe that by following more and more people that got vaccinated, like the economy getting better and better.
Absolutely, there's over 80,000 people per day in New York City getting vaccinated, so it's great. It's great. New York is probably the place that I think is the safest and handling things the best within the United States.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yep.
We can go to the next slide. So, if you're thinking about investing anywhere around the world, I mean, many of our Hong Kong purchasers and residents, they actually have a physical connection or an emotional connection or family connection to New York. But even on a pure standpoint, if you're looking to buy a residence in New York, there's a very established condo sales market, very much like in Hong Kong. The quality of life is generally very high right now. Great healthcare, very clean environment, the cleanest that we've seen in literally hundreds of years, and also excellent universities. And all of our developments that we're going to talk about today are very close to the largest universities here in New York. There's a very active market for rentals. If you are an investor and want to rent out the property that you buy, it's a great market for rentals, especially as people come back to their offices in the fall. Very experienced, good quality developers. There are strong consumer protection laws, so you don't need to be fearful that you won't be protected by the government. All purchases are very well regulated. Manhattan, also has a very limited supply of land, so kind of very much like Hong Kong actually. But there is not much more land, to build or to overbuild. So there's very limited supply, and also historically the Hong Kong dollar and the U.S. dollar, because of the peg, have been very highly correlated. So there's not a lot of currency risk or volatility there.
Yeah, it's just very similar to Hong Kong situation. It's like condo sales market, the rental is very strong, and currency rate is very stable, and the quality of life, all those stuff. Yeah, so so we like some of our friends and families, they are really like US, and like some of our friends they are just like waiting to moving back to US.
Well, I think that there's a great relationship, and I think Hong Kong and New York are certainly both amazing cosmopolitan cities. There are a lot of similarities, and I personally love a lot of Asian cities, including Hong Kong. I feel very much at home there, and I see a lot of those people feeling the same way in New York.
Yeah, okay.
So
why now?
Some of you may have been considering property purchases in New York for years. Many of you may have already bought property in New York, maybe you're considering something else. But the real question is, why should you buy now? There's a terrific opportunity in New York for a very limited period of time, because in 2020, during the pandemic, we really couldn't transact homes very easily. So as a result, there's an amazing inventory of really great, best-in-class properties at the highest end of the market that are all super, super top quality. And because of inflation to build new properties, you're not going to see this quality of building be built again in the very near future. So that's important. For those that are getting financing, mortgage rates are still very low and still advantageous for international buyers. I would also say that the pricing is probably the number one driver. Our pricing has fallen substantially over the last few years. So this is a great level where you can feel confident investing in New York today and knowing that you got the best deal of anyone for a decade. So I think that that's really important. Timing is everything in real estate, and this is a great time. So I think, that's one of the reasons why the market is coming back kind of very strongly coordinated with our economy.
Yeah, especially for the investment, because the investor, they're just looking for the return, and just you said, the return is getting higher and higher. So yeah, that's so attractive.
Yeah, some of the properties we'll talk about today have been reduced in price by over 20%. Yeah, and that's the steepest discount we've ever seen in my career of more than 20 years. So you can feel confident that that's you're really getting a very good level. So.
Yeah, we're waiting to see that. Yeah,
we'll go into some of those charts. So this is just to start an overview of the Manhattan real estate market specifically. So 2021 has started off very strong. We're seeing that the amount of sales, both in terms of number of signed contracts as well as dollar volume, is the highest in the first quarter, higher than 2007. So we're seeing the highest sales velocity in 14 years. So if you're thinking about buying a property in New York, you're not alone. It's very, we're starting off the year very strong. We do think that 2021 will probably be the strongest market for new sales in Manhattan history ever. So you're buying in at the beginning of what looks to be a fairly exciting trend in New York towards the upside. So again, both in terms of number of contracts and the dollar volume of New York property, we're seeing 2021 as the start of a brand new economic cycle. And this is the strongest market that, frankly, we will have ever seen. There's also very limited new supply. If you look back over the last 20 years, you will see that in 2006 and 2007, Manhattan was adding about 7,000 or 8,000 new apartments for sale every year. And that's, relative to Hong Kong or other major cities, it's still very low. But if you look at what's being built now, there's only about 1,000 units per year being developed right now. And keep in mind, there are about 1 million housing units in Manhattan. So in terms of a proportion, it's still very small. So if you're buying new property today, it's really, a very limited subset. There's not a lot of competition, and there's not a big projection for new properties as well.
Yeah, I believe Hong Kong people, they very understand about it, because it's just like what happens in Hong Kong now.
Yes. So we're at the beginning of, I think, what could be an upward pricing pressure.
Yeah.
And if you look back historically, this is the new development average price per square foot. So, generally speaking, if you want to do the math in your head, you multiply it by 10 to get to the price per square meter. So the average price per square meter of new development in New York City, in Manhattan, is about $24,000, give or take. And really, that's actually come off highs in 2017 and 2018. It's retreated quite a bit. But what you see in New York, and we saw this back in 2012 and 2013, about once every decade, you get tremendous growth as you leave a recession and you go into economic expansion, which is exactly what's happening right now. That's when you'll start to see a major increase in pricing. So if you're buying today, you can say, hey, I'm getting the best pricing that I would have gotten 5 years ago in 2016. But you can also bet that you have a chance of really seeing a major uptick in pricing like we saw in 2013 in this chart. So nothing is guaranteed in life. There's risk to everything, but you can feel confident you're getting the best pricing in 5 years, and there's a strong chance of upside because the economy is going so strong. So if you're really thinking that, okay, I like what you're hearing, and you think maybe now really is the right time to buy an investment property in New York, or buy a home for your family to live in, or your child going to university, how would you actually select a property to purchase? Location is very important in New York. Being close to places of business, being close to universities, transport, having fresh air that we have here on the water is very important. Obviously, a safe location with a lot of security and police, that's very important today here in New York, as well as everywhere around the world. And obviously, being close to schools and parks, that's really the most important thing when buying property here in New York. I would also try to look for a building that's selling well, a building that's been validated by the market. So a building that is one of the best-selling buildings, but also a building that has also achieved very high numbers in terms of sales for actual buyers paying more than $10 million, more than $20 million. You can have confidence in those buildings that they've been validated by buyers locally who are willing to really commit to them. And I think that that's important. Having built-in demand from future renters or buyers is great, like being across from a major office building, and having a strong developer, you can't say this enough, with a very strong track record to deliver, and concerned that every aspect of every interaction with a potential buyer reflects on their brand. A developer like Related, for instance, that is going to be here for the long term, and they're always going to do the right thing because they care about their brand and they know their reputation is their most important asset. Obviously, if that developer also offers helpful services like property management or away from home care, that certainly makes your life a lot easier. Looking at good construction practices as well as best environmental practices is also quite good. Making sure that you're buying a healthy home that is environmentally certified and uses non-toxic and low VOC materials. Those are really important quality of life measures because you want, obviously, health is everything in life, right? Obviously, in addition to having a developer that has a great respect, having a selling brokerage that's really committed with integrity, that's going to be there for the long term, that's important. Many brokers come and they go. Having a broker that's there for the long term is really quite important. And obviously fair pricing based on sales activity, based on the history in the market, based on the history in the building. Having fair pricing, always matters, always matters. And two of the lovely pictures we have on the right are some photographs of Hudson River Park, which runs right along next to Hudson Yards, along the waterfront. So there was a lot of industrial waterfront that's been entirely cleaned up, and now it's one of the largest city parks in New York, as well as Avenue School, which is an amazing bilingual private school here just a few blocks away from us.
Yeah, that's a really suitable. No matter is investor for looking for the high investment return, or for self-use, like for the kids, and that they near the school, it's easier for them to go to school and have a high high security and better environment. Yeah, that's something that we are always looking for, no matter where.
Yeah. Unlike other city, I think the transportation is really important in New York City.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And we built the only new subway station for something like 40 years here at Hudson Yards. So transportation with a brand new station, it's one of the most accessible points in the region. And it's really right in the center of Manhattan, which is so important. It's surrounded by so many great things, and you can get everywhere to universities, parks, shopping and dining. So it's exciting.
Yeah, especially for Hong Kong people, we are normally we're very close to transportation, no matter go anywhere, and we just spend 15 to 20 minutes to go to one point to another point. So that's something that is really similar to Hong Kong, and as no matter to work, to live, and to study, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, there's great transportation, subway transportation. But because it's so centrally located, you can get to any point in Manhattan in about 20 minutes by car. And it's also very convenient to the airport. For instance, Newark Airport is usually about 30 minutes, even at rush hour. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
And, we have to talk about the Related Companies. The Related Companies is the developer of Hudson Yards, together with their partners, as well as the Lantern House condominium building. And the Related Companies is the largest privately held real estate development firm in the United States. They were formed over 45 years ago. They have a tremendous track record and highest possible customer satisfaction. As I mentioned, they are very focused on their brand, doing right by the customer and the buyers. So that's really important for you as you look to, when you're looking to buy a property in New York, in a way, you're really investing in a building and you're investing with a developer. Yes, they're selling the property to you, but you're really investing in everything that they built and investing in trust. And more than ever today, Related is really the best-in-class developer. And on the right, you see a photograph of the executive team, including Bruce Beal, Jeff Blau, Stephen Ross, and Ken Wong. And Stephen Ross, for instance, who is the chairman of the Related Companies, actually lives here at Hudson Yards. He lives in the penthouse at 35 Hudson Yards, which we sometimes call the chairman's building because he lives here. And I think that's quite important, that he has his eyes on the ground to make sure that everything operates perfectly. So I think that's important. These are just some of the other buildings that Related's built. Obviously, Hudson Yards, the Time Warner Center in New York, which is being renamed Deutsche Bank Center, which is home to the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, and other master plan communities in Los Angeles and Chicago, but also 70 Vestry, which is a celebrity building. It's really a best-in-class residential building, and it also got the highest dollar per square foot or square meter of any building ever developed downtown, with a number of celebrity residences. So they really are a best-in-class building, no matter they're doing large high-rise or public spaces or individual residences.
Yeah, we can see that all the projects and the track records by Related Companies actually is a very high end, and it looks really amazing. It's no matter it's in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, they are kind of iconic building in the city, just like Hudson Yards.
Yes.
All located in the prime location.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They're really crafting amazing urban lifestyles, and they're able to deliver kind of the utmost experience to all of the residents.
Yeah.
And the Related experience, as you see on this page, in addition to a number of their, other brands that they have in their family from a food and dining perspective and entertainment, they also have an amazing pet care company called Dog City for anyone that has pets. Their Related Life program helps to create community in all their buildings. So if you're moving to New York and you don't have kind of a built-in community, you're able to meet people throughout your building that really have like-minded interests, and you might enjoy meeting with them and collaborating with them, doing business with them, maybe falling in love, we'll see. But also the Home Expert program is also amazing for anyone buying property overseas, in that they take care of the property for you, maintenance things, for instance, like the air filtration, the appliances, the countertops, the stones, the materials, window treatments, closets. They'll take care of all of the small details and be able to customize the home exactly for every buyer. So that's an amazing service, very unique.
Yeah, and actually, a successful developers actually not only like build the building itself, but also the entire community, like from the building to take the catering, people's normal life. So it's not only to build a home for them, to build the community and the life for them, normal life for them. Yeah.
And Related Management also operates every building, and they have really the highest standards. So one other thing that I would say is that there's a rule at Related that if the building management and the staff can do something within 30 minutes for less than $30 with 2 people, they'll do it. So for instance, if the light goes out in your kitchen, if you need a new light bulb, they'll come in and change it. So it's really the highest level of service that no other developer and no other management company offers.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes light bulbs. It's amazing. So I also work with a company called Corcoran Sunshine. I won't go into too much detail on that because we're tight on time. But Corcoran Sunshine is part of the Realogy company, which is the world's largest residential real estate brokerage, and affiliated with brands such as Sotheby's, ERA, Coldwell Banker, and Corcoran is the largest real estate brokerage here in New York.
Yep.
Chelsea, where Hudson Yards and Lantern House are located, are really some of the most exciting neighborhoods in New York. I mentioned the wonderful Hudson River Park, as well as being close to a number of universities, including New York University, and not so bad to commute to Columbia University. And our 3 premier residential condominiums that we'll talk about today include 15 Hudson Yards, where we have residences priced from US $2.95 million, 35 Hudson Yards, that's the chairman's building, where we have it priced from $4.25 million, and Lantern House, where we have homes priced from US $1.875. And then one other thing that I'll mention on Chelsea before moving on is that Chelsea is really part of the cultural coast of Manhattan. So what Chelsea is really known for is kind of a progressive lifestyle, really for the arts community. It's the center of New York's art world with over 300 galleries, amazing museums such as the Whitney Museum and the Shed, fashionable stores and restaurants, and also the center of New York's tech community. We can go to the next slide. So it's really a very fun neighborhood, good lifestyle. Here are some photos, including the park, the Highline Park, which we'll get into, galleries and a number of restaurants. So it's a very attractive location. And as I mentioned before, it's important when you're looking at a building to make sure that it's selling very well. So if you see the table on the right, that includes the top selling new developments of the first quarter of 2021. Based on the number of transactions, and you see that both Lantern House and Hudson Yards are in the top 5 best-selling buildings. So you have confidence that you're buying into a success. The table on the right was some of our more expensive sales that were done over the last 3 to 6 months. So the fact that we have in each of these buildings sales over 10 million or maybe even 20 million is an amazing vote of confidence for these buildings. So we're going to go into Hudson Yards. I think we're going to talk a little bit about the master plan of Hudson Yards and all the different components, and then we'll talk about the residences. And I think really the next step is for us to watch a short video, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and we can play the video now. Yep. 係啦，咁啊，其實咧頭先我哋啱啱播咗片啦，咁其實咧就係我哋啱啱想今日同大家即係喺 New York City 介紹第一個項目咧，就係15 Hudson Yards 嘅。咁其實咧介紹之前咧，其實我諗頭先即係我哋都 recap 少少啦。咁啊其實阿 Dan 頭先同我哋咧都非常之詳盡咧，就係講咗頭先即係而家喺 New York City 嘅即係最新嗰個情況啦。咁其實無論係喺嗰個即係 Covid 嗰個控制啦，同埋其實佢嗰個樓市咧，其實咧都係非常之即係都逐步見得到喎，因為其實首先就係 Covid 先啦，咁啊 Covid 其實嗰邊其實即係超過即係一半嘅人咧，當地嘅市民咧，其實都已經係打咗係啦，接種咗疫苗啦。咁啊之後其實即係可能大家比較關心啲就係佢嗰個即係樓市啦。咁其實無論係即係 sales market 啦，咁其實佢都係即係都已經係即係增長咗好多。咁其實亦都嗰個即係租務嘅市場啦，咁啊其實亦都係比過去嗰幾年咧已經係打破晒過去嗰個紀錄。咁其實所以其實就可以大家就可能即係都可以再考慮多少少就係其實而家美國嗰個環境咧，即係無論係經濟啦，佢嗰個政治啦，其實都已經趨向咗穩定。咁所以其實我哋想今日就同大家即係點解我哋今日講咁多美國啦，其實就係即係除咗即係第一消息咯，係啊。
其實樓價大家都知一路 New York 可能都係會比較貴啲，但係頭先都有個 data 就睇到，即係相比起即係可能前一兩年，而家係稍微有少少回落咗嘅。所以即係可能如果大家係除咗係移居啦，或者香港人都好中意投資海外房產嘅話，即係可能而家都係一個好嘅機會同時機。
係啊，咁所以其實個 sales market 就會即係增長咗咁多，就因為大家睇準咗，而家嗰個價錢就低啦，已經終於減價啦。咁所以其實呢個就係一個可能係一個指標性咯。咁我哋好事不宜遲，我哋繼續我哋呢一個嘅介紹嘉賓出嚟啦，係啦。Hi Dan.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Oh,
I'd like to welcome everybody back.
Is that you?
I'm joined here by my friend and colleague Sherry Kovac. She's the head of sales here at Related for all of the residences, and she's the senior vice president with the Related companies. So welcome, Sherry.
Good evening, everybody. Good morning from us, and good evening for all of you. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah. Hi, Sherry. Yeah.
Hi, Sherry.
Yep. So you're going
we
to
hope you liked the video of 15 Hudson Yards. That's our first residential building. But I thought I'd ask Sherry a few questions about Hudson Yards generally. So Hudson Yards is really a new neighborhood. But Sherry, could you tell us a little bit about the different components within Hudson Yards?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, Hudson Yards is the largest privately held real estate development in American history, which right there puts it on the map. We've been very excited. We've been here for a few years. We have two amazing, beautiful luxury condominium buildings. We have over 1 million square feet of retail, including some very high-end shops and restaurants. We have 5 acres of parks surrounding us. The Vessel, as I'm sure we've talked about a bit, right behind us, the Vessel is an interactive art exhibit where you literally just climb from the bottom to the top, and when you get to the top, you'll have climbed a mile. It's very exciting, and the views from the top are exquisite. We also have a cultural center, and this is the first new cultural center in New York since Lincoln Center. It's very exciting. New concept in artistic invention where several different exhibits, whether they be art exhibits or concerts or any other type of cultural event, can all exist at the same time. We just hosted an art show there called Freeze New York, very, very well attended, and a very exciting new addition for Hudson Yards. We also, I know Dan spoke a little bit about office space. We have 4 very major office buildings here, and I think that's a very important part for this audience, for this seminar, because these office workers are all coming back to work. They've started coming back already. They will be fully back by September, and a lot of them are going to be looking for places to live, whether it is to buy or to rent. Many of them will be looking for places to live, and there's a very limited supply of new homes on the market right now.
And Sherry, can I just ask, I mean, certainly all of our viewers can see that Hudson Yards is essentially built. So can you tell us just the overall construction of kind of where we are and what's left to be built?
Sure. Well, Hudson Yards is actually a grand plan that had 2 different phases. We've completed the first phase. which, as I said, included the 4 office buildings as well as the cultural center, Vessel, and both 15 and 35 Hudson Yards. And we are anticipating the growth of second phase, which will be the Western Yards. We call this the Eastern Yards and the Western Yards. This was quite a feat of incredible accomplishment and architectural genius to figure out a way to build this new city on top of an active railway. So we built a platform and we built above that platform. And some years from now, we will start building the Western Yards as well.
But what I think is really important is that the core of Hudson Yards, the 8 buildings and the core of the public space is all complete, which is amazing. So you're buying into a development that feels complete, is intact with security and parks and trees and people swimming in the pool and visiting every day. So it's an exciting, bustling destination.
Right.
You're not buying into something where we're promising you in 5 years that it will be nice. It's amazing today. It's a great lifestyle.
Right, and some tremendous opportunities right now because, as Dan said, although our buildings are quite well sold, 15 Hudson Yards is over 70% sold. Because of the recent price reductions due to the pandemic, the opportunity is tremendous right now. And because the volume of sales is so great lately, we know that that's not going to last for long. So the opportunity to purchase at these incredibly low kind of post-COVID prices is right there right now. And with interest rates being as low as they are, the timing could not be better to purchase at Hudson Yards.
Right. And we have, here you see on the screen are 2 residential buildings. Both are entirely complete. The building on the left, 15 Hudson Yards, which has 285 residences, over 200 of which have been sold. It has homes priced from $2.95 million US, and 35 Hudson Yards, which is the building on the right, which is the building where our chairman will be living, and the penthouse, has a luxury hotel and spa and all of those amazing services, and that's priced from US 4.25 million.
So actually, it's a mix, like mixed building, like not only residential but also the hotel and the commercial as well.
Correct. Yeah. At 35 Hudson Yards, which floor do our residences start at?
Our residences start on the 53rd floor, and I'm glad that you mentioned that about the hotel. Being a mixed-use building brings extra privilege to our owners because the owners get the benefit of all the hotel-type services. So not only do they have the opportunity to roll out of bed in the morning and have breakfast at our 24th floor Electric Lemon restaurant, you also have the opportunity to get room service, to get maid service. So you're living in a lifestyle that really just doesn't compare to anywhere else. And you have hotel type services in a residential tower.
Yeah, just like living in a hotel.
Just like living in a hotel.
Well, the best part of it, yeah. It does have a separate residential entrance that's separate from the hotel, separate elevators. It's entirely private and secure, which is so important these days. Everything in Hudson Yards, from a security standpoint, we have our own private security team that are very active on the property at all times. And all of our public spaces, the plaza behind us, is private security. So you know you're buying into a place that has impeccable safety and security. These are some wonderful renderings of 15 Hudson Yards, if you'd like to discuss them.
Sure. So you're looking now at some of the amenities at 15 Hudson Yards. We're very excited about 15 Hudson Yards because we have a tremendous amenity package. Prices now, as Dan mentioned, start at US $2,950,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment. We are also right on the waterfront, and the views are just incredible from both buildings. So what
here in this rendering, I mean, that's amazing. Our south view all the way down to New York Harbor, Freedom Tower, Statue of Liberty. I mean, you don't find views like that in New York.
You can really see forever. On some apartments on the higher floors, you can actually see as far as the Atlantic Ocean. So it is exciting when buyers come in and they look out the window and see the Statue of Liberty and see Freedom Tower. You don't forget that you're living in New York City.
Yeah. And in terms of pricing, I mean, the building is over 70% sold, which is amazing. And our pricing, many units in the building has been reduced by 10%. So we're in the developer closeout phase of this building, which is amazing. But it's been so successful.
It's been very successful. And again, although we're at the closeout phase, there are some tremendous values available. We still have several 2-bedroom apartments under $4 million, 3-bedroom apartments starting from $5.5 million, and 4-bedroom apartments starting under $11 million, as well as penthouses, which we can all talk about separately. If you have interest in those, we can price those separately upon request.
Yep.
So the next few slides include some of our interiors as well as a floor plan of a 3-bedroom home. Obviously, we have virtual tours and videos and renderings, and we can share them with anyone who's interested in any specific type of home. But this is just an example. And the renderings on the next page show you some of our wonderful water views, very high ceilings, and the interior finish package.
Unfortunately, also at 15 Hudson Yards, we offer 2 different finish packages. So there's a lighter palette and a darker palette, depending on your choice. Some lines don't have the option anymore because they're close to sold out, but several still do. And as you're looking here, this is our game room. As I mentioned, we have 40,000 square feet of amenities just for the residents at 15 Hudson Yards.
And by my rough math, that's about 4,000 square meters.
Right.
But they're also located very high in the building. Right?
Yes, they are. So we put the amenities on the 50th and the 51st floor, as well as the top of the house on the 90th floor. And this is very significant because Related, as a developer, wanted to ensure that everybody could enjoy these incredible views. So this is quite expensive real estate in the middle of the building, and the amenities just really, really are very, very impressive and very well used.
Yeah, kind of like enjoying the high end of lifestyle.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, look at this billiard room, for example. That's your game room. We have co-working spaces. We have this fabulous swimming pool, which is about 25 meters long. And again, it's on the 50th floor. So you have fabulous views in every direction. So it's great to swim. It's also very fun to hang out. We have amazing fitness facilities, spa, salon. This is one of our lounges, which can be reserved for private cocktail parties. We also have a wonderful ballroom, which is seat 65 for a number of other events. And what am I missing?
Oh, very little. We have a golf simulator. We have a children's playroom for those with small children. We have a spa with both sauna and steam. One of the things that I love a lot for the ladies is we have a private beauty salon right in the building. So you can have hair and makeup and manicure done for a big night out, and then celebrate your big night out right in one of our wonderful party rooms. So it's a tremendous amount of amenities. We also have a sky top on the top of the building, which is a huge space with a 65-foot glass curtain wall. It's a beautiful, innovative space where you can go up and have a nice glass of wine in the evening and watch the sunset. Faces completely west. It's an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous view with both a dining room on one side and a lounge on the other, so you can have a party for a huge amount of guests.
Great. Well, 15 Hudson Yards is very exciting. If you are interested in those one bedrooms, we only have 3 left. So, we're getting ready to wrap up the building. It has been very successful. So do let us know. So I wanted to get into the building just across the plaza, the one that we're in just right now, 35 Hudson Yards. And this is a fabulous rendering of the building, 92 stories clad in limestone. And I believe we have a video of this as well that we can play.
Yeah. Yeah, the video is just like it's just like living in the hotel. It's not kind of like a residential style. It's a hotel style.
Yeah, that's true. And the views are superb. So 35 Hudson Yards has some of the most beautiful apartments ever designed in New York. But I thought it's really important to talk, as you mentioned, David, as a mixed-use building. The building with the lifestyle and the other components is really important to anyone really considering a purchase. So I thought we have a stacking plan on the screen that shows you the different components of the building from high to low. But Sherry, did you want to talk about some of the other uses of the building and some of the other components?
Sure, I'm happy to. So, I mentioned before the hotel-type services that are available to residents, and the restaurant by Stephen Starr on the 24th floor, which also has an incredible outdoor space. It's a beautiful place to come and have dinner or cocktails in the evening. Absolutely beautiful, and the food is fantastic. We also have right within the building, we have a brand new. Are we showing WS?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have a brand new members-only club with a restaurant called the Tavern. This is a beautiful club right in the building, and I will say that we are offering free membership to all the residents who buy this year. And it's an absolutely beautiful club, internationally known wines and spirits are going to be served there. We've just reopened following the pandemic, and business is booming.
And that's done with Marvin Schenken, right?
Marvin Schenken and his personal collection.
Right, and he's from Weinspector, Texas. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, fabulous.
We also have an incredible Equinox Club. As you know, this is the home to the very first Equinox Hotel, which will be an international brand within several years. The Equinox Hotel is known for health and wellness and fitness. And within the hotel, we have a 60,000 square foot brand new Equinox Club and Spa. It is absolutely amazing, beautiful, well appointed. And we also are giving our buyers a 2-year membership to the club. So that's all part of the package. There's a Soul Cycle in the building as well. And then, as Dan mentioned, it is the chairman's building. So you know this building is going to be very well taken care of. And we have a tremendous staff here with doormen, concierge, hall men, tremendous staff, and they do an incredible job. Everybody's really, really happy.
And I think that the wellness lifestyle, it's actually very fun because there are so many different components to the lifestyle. You know, even people that aren't that much into fitness, including myself, whether you want to work out at the gym, you can swim in the outdoor pool, the indoor pool, these wonderful outdoor saunas, you can go to the spa, you can have treatments. There are actually 2 different gyms within the building. So there's a lot of different opportunities to keep it fresh and interesting, and really explore all of these fun things. So I think it's great.
And we have an outdoor pool. There's both an indoor and an outdoor pool, and that is not something you find too often in New York City.
Right.
So we're literally sitting, unfortunately you can't see it from here, but we're sitting right over the pool. And just 5 minutes ago, I saw somebody swimming. So the pool is open year round. My understanding is that they heat the pool to 100 degrees. So I guess that would be 10 degrees. I'm not sure how that
it's
works.
About 30,
32 degrees. And people can swim there all year round. We have outdoor saunas that people can use in the wintertime. And now today, there are chaise lounges out there, and you really do feel as though you're in a resort right on the river waterfront.
Right. You can have cocktail service and drinks and juice actually right out on the pool deck. I prefer the restaurant and the bar upstairs, but to each his own, to each his own. So in terms of the residences at 35 Hudson Yards, I mean, the pricing is now very amazing, I'd say. I mean, many of the prices in the building have actually been reduced by about 25%. But as I said, it is still one of the most successful buildings in New York in terms of sales velocity and some of the high-end sales as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about the inventory?
I do. We have a limited supply of 2-bedroom apartments that were originally priced at about $5.5 million US that we brought down in price, starting at $4,250,000. These are incredible apartments with high ceilings. They're huge, over 2,000 square feet.
Right, they're 200 square meters.
200 square meters.
And many of them have water views, so they're kind of very luxurious and very generous. even by New York standards.
Absolutely. Lots of closets, huge kitchens, really, really beautifully designed. We also have 3 bedrooms that have also been reduced from over 7 million to 6.3 million. And again, as Dan mentioned, what you're looking at right now actually is a rendering of one of these 3 bedrooms, and they are absolutely gorgeous on the corner facing southwest or southeast, absolutely gorgeous apartments. And then we have 4 bedrooms as well that are priced under 16 million and up. And for anything larger than that, we can certainly speak with you privately.
Yeah, I can see the 35 Hudson Yards, the discount rate, the reduced rate is even higher than 15 Hudson Yards. And just before, the 15 Hudson Yards is 10%, like 10%, but now it's 25% off, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Right.
if that's the most important, I mean, they are more expensive residences because they are larger, but it really is one of the most superlative kind of luxury buildings in New York. You're really getting first quality, but you know it has the value and you know it will appreciate it. Okay, so if we could just go through some of the next slides. This is a sample floor plan. As I mentioned, we could send them to you. But on the next slide, you see some of the interiors of the building. Fabulous views, interiors by a very well-known designer by Tony Ingrao. But you can just see some of the fabulous interiors, very high ceilings, about 3.3 meters. You see this wonderful bathtub on the bottom left, which has it's kind of a freestanding bathtub, highest end appliances, Gag and Arrow, etc. So really very high spec. It also, in addition to all the components in the lifestyle, it has designated about 2,200 square meters of its own amenities, which are exclusive for the residents. So in addition to having access to the wine club, in addition to having access to the hotel bar, in addition to having access to the outdoor pool, the indoor pool, and the spa, we have another 2,200 square feet that's only for the residents. And that includes a private fitness center and yoga studio, a meditation room, billiard room, cocktail lounge that we're in right now, which has this exciting view over the vessel, a private dining suite, screening room, golf simulator, children's playroom, and as well as a boardroom with 2 private office suites that you can reserve. So if you want to work from home or work from the building, you don't have to work in your apartment. You can do all of those things here in the amenity space, of course, managed by. So property taxes. So we should take a moment to talk about some of the real tax advantages of buying here at Hudson Yards. So in the United States and in New York, every property that you buy will have property tax associated to it. We quote those numbers monthly, but frankly, they're paid quarterly. And this is entirely different than income tax or other types of taxes. So about 10% of the developments in New York City have what they call a 421A, but a tax abatement. And some of them last 10, 20, or 30 years. What's important is that the buildings that we just talked about, 15 and 35 Hudson Yards, have a 20-year tax abatement, which means you have very, very low taxes for the first 12 years. So on a 1-bedroom apartment, those taxes are basically $30 per month, whereas they might be much higher. So over the last 8 years, so years 13 to 20, the taxes do come up to market rate. And this is a very attractive component to any residential project, because as you see at the bottom of the screen, if you actually do the math, if you were to buy a $5 million home with us, you will save over the course of the tax abatement $800,000 US. So that's more than a 15% benefit by having this tax abatement versus not having the abatement. So again, it's very rare in New York City, but it's very specific to 15 and 35 Hudson Yards. So it keeps, keeps more money in your pocket.
I want to add one thing to this for investors. A lot of buildings are able to obtain a 10-year tax abatement. It's not unusual to see a 10-year tax abatement, but a 20-year tax abatement is very unusual, and we were very, very fortunate to have obtained it. What it means for the investor is that when most people want to sell their apartment in 5 years or 7 years, on a 10-year tax abatement, you don't have too much time left, and so the taxes are getting close to full tax. In one of these 2 buildings, 15 or 35 Hudson Yards, if you sell your apartment in 5 years or 7 years, you will still have a tremendous selling feature going forward because there will still be several years left on your tax abatement. So this is a very, very important factor for investors.
Can I ask a question? Like, the 20 years tax abatement actually is just happened in New York City and other city just 10 years.
No, most other cities do not have tax abatements. This is a program specifically in New York City to help encourage construction of developments in specific areas.
So only in New York City.
Yes, only about 10% of the buildings in New York City have it. So it is very rare, absolutely. And you save so much money on property tax, which everybody in the United States pays on any property. But I mean, again, if you could reduce that by $800,000, I mean, you're saving a lot of money over the life of the tax abatement.
Yeah, that would be a good news for the investors.
Yeah,
It's very good news.
Good news for everybody. Good news for everybody buying these properties. So I would like to thank Sherry Toback, my colleague. This has been fun.
This has been fantastic.
You were great. And we're going to talk a little bit about another property we have, which is very nearby. It's about an 8-minute walk here from Hudson Yards down the High Line. And it's called a Lantern House. So I think that the next, we're going
to play the video of the project first.
Perfect.
Right.
See you later.
係，我哋去片
播片第三個項目。
係啦。
係。
Hi, hello.
Hi. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Hi.
And we have another guest. Yeah.
Yes, we have another guest. I'm joined by my dear friend and colleague, Donna Pusio, who's the head of sales at Lantern House Condominium.
Hello.
So congratulations, Donna. Lantern House is one of the most successful, top-selling buildings of the year.
Most successful launch of 2020.
Yes, indeed. So that's amazing. So congratulations. You really got a winner on your hand. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And that's a beautiful video. It really looks great.
It is really beautiful, yes.
Yeah. So Lantern House is also a fully completed condominium building.
Mm-hmm.
We still have some renderings because we haven't photographed a bit of it, but the building is completed and under construction.
Okay.
As I mentioned, it's about 12 blocks south of Hudson Yards, and it's on something called the High Line, which is a wonderful park. So could you talk about that?
Yes, and you could walk from Hudson Yards right to Lantern House, and they're actually putting a new staircase in right across the street from our building. So pretty soon, straight there. It's about 8 minutes.
So if you work at Facebook at Hudson Yards and you want to live at Lantern House, you can take this.
Right after this interview, I will be walking back to work on the High Line. So, and it's such a beautiful walk. I did it last week too. It's really fun. So the High Line is a linear elevated park here in New York City. It runs from the West Village all the way up to Hudson Yards. It's beautifully landscaped. It has art installations throughout. And it's just a big tourist attraction here in New York, so people love it.
Yeah, it's a great experience because you don't have to cross any streets.
Right.
And it just kind of floats through the neighborhood. So
Right. It
really
also
cool.
has a staircase right by the school that you guys were talking about.
Avenue School.
Yeah, a lot of parents like it because they can send their children right on the High Line to school, and they don't even have to go in the street. So it's actually a safety issue as well.
Yeah, so it's great.
And the good thing about Lantern House is we do flank the High Line. So Lantern House is located on 18th Street with 2 towers that flank the High Line, and then they connect underneath the High Line by our lobby, our gorgeous freestanding lobby pavilion, sculptural freestanding lobby pavilion, and all of our amenities that circle around a beautiful courtyard. So
Now, the architect of Lantern House was actually Thomas Heatherwick, which is very interesting. So,
who also did Vessel.
right behind us. The architect of Vessel was Thomas Heatherwick, also designed Lantern House.
Yes, he did.
And he also did Little Island.
Little Island.
So what's Little Island?
So Little Island is, I mean, they call it a floating park. So it's on a pier that's about 5 blocks away, 5 blocks south of the Lantern House. It's a very highly anticipated new park, right? It was a pier, so now it's this floating park with an amphitheater. It's gorgeous. It just opened on Friday, and it was this huge success with people showing up just to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, this neighborhood really is kind of the coolest part of New York right now.
Yes.
It's where people want to be. It's where there are interesting things.
Along the waterfront.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's so much to do along the waterfront, the park you're talking about. Yeah.
But just to finish on the architect for a second, so Thomas Heatherwick he's done a variety of amazing buildings around the world. He just finished the Eden Residences in Singapore, that's with Swire Properties, and also the Fosun Art Center in Shanghai, which are 2 really kind of best-in-class, really interesting buildings as well. And the interiors are designed by March and White. Talk about cool guys.
March and White, yeah, they're mostly known for their collaboration with Rolls-Royce, and they do luxury yachts throughout the world. So just a very high-end level of finishes, and we get really great response from our finishes at Lantern House. Fluted white oak and beautiful oak floors, our mimosa stone in the lobby, just really gorgeous.
Yeah, and I think we have some photos of some of the finishes. So this is actually a photograph of our lobby pavilion.
Yes, that's our lobby pavilion, and those beams that you see, you could see there, that is the High Line. So we have the beams of the High Line right there in our lobby pavilion. So it's a very dramatic entrance, and it just shows up really well when people enter into the property.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of go way to the other buildings you can see there. You kind of just float around our courtyard, and we should talk about our courtyard because people are loving it. I mean, closings have commenced at Lantern House, so there are people already living in the building, and I see them using this courtyard all the time. It has these pavers that light up at night, so you could sit out there in the evening. It's beautiful. You have sun on the sides and shade underneath the High Line. You could even sit out there when it's raining because it doesn't rain past the High Line.
It's beautiful because it's planted underneath, and then you have this elevated planted park that's very lush and upstairs.
Yes, Hollander Landscape Architects did all of the landscaping, so it's stunning, and it's visible from all of our amenities. So all the amenities that surround it have a view of our courtyard. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I can see that it's a really unique design. I don't see the lanterns. The lanterns is the right side and right side, and surrounding the lobby. Yeah. The building is called Lantern House because of the windows, which kind of have a little bit of a lantern shape.
They have a lantern shape, and the curve of the window encompasses 2 stories. So the apartments either are on the upper portion of the arc or the lower portion, and there is a little bit of a different living condition based on the upper or lower portion. And what that is the lower portion has a window seat at every window. So people just love that. As well as if you have the upper portion, you have a little more floor space and a little bit more window. So, it's fun to kind of go through it with different buyers to see which they prefer, as well as, the 2 different color palettes. So it's actually a lot of fun selling the building, kind of going through all these different options that people have.
Yeah, can see that the lanterns is one of the unique selling points of these projects, and it's a really special. Yeah,
and because they do come out a little bit arc, there is an arc to it. You have the views from other exposures. You don't just have like one exposure. You get southern light or northern light, even if you're facing east. So
yeah.
And these are just some of the amenities as well. So around the courtyard, we have a fabulous suite of amenities. So that includes a library with a fireplace, private working space, which is very in demand these days.
Game room.
Yep, and the dining suite, which I think seats 16 people, and you can reserve for private events.
Mm-hmm. And there's and there's also back of house catering kitchen, so you can have a really big party. There's closet space, a bathroom, so you can have a really big event, and you don't even have to have people up to your apartment. So
it's the best thing. We love that.
If you want that.
We love to entertain, but not so much in your apartment. So we also have amazing fitness facilities designed with Equinox. and a wonderful swimming pool on our second and third floor in a beautiful double height space. So it's very inviting, lots of lounge seating.
With a hot tub, a cold plunge, and a hot plunge right next to the swimming pool.
As well as a children's room and a roof deck.
There's also steam room. There's a sauna and an infrared sauna, which is the hot, thing in all the spas right now. We do have an infrared sauna, so people are excited about that as well.
Yep.
We have a treatment room. We have beautiful changing rooms, so you do feel like you're in a spa when you're in there as well.
Yeah, and here's a rendering of some of the bay windows that you experience. As you mentioned, just the light views is very nice.
The curve of our window, yeah.
So Lantern House has wonderful both city views as well as some river views, and the ceiling heights and the scale of the homes are really quite wonderful. Ceiling heights are around 3.3 meters on average, which is wonderful. And there are two different palettes. So let's go on to the next slide. And then on this one, you'll start to get a sense of some of the residential interiors. The flooring is laid in this wonderful chevron pattern. And here you see how the beautiful bay windows, the reinvented bay window by Thomas Heatherwick, really start to invite the lighted views into your home. Views of the Empire State Building. This is a 5th floor residence, but it still has wonderful views of the Empire State Building and other city skyline landmarks.
Right, that's one of our mall apartments.
And here you see just a little bit of some of the other residential interiors, the kitchens and baths.
And this is the interior of an apartment with an upper window, so you can see what that looks like. And then, of course, our bathrooms are gorgeous. The primary bathrooms have heated floors, the beautiful Nestle stage marble.
So move-ins are underway. People are actually living in the building already, and it has been very successful so far. But it was the fastest-selling development launch in 2020, which is great. But it also has a great selection of residences still available, and the pricing is pretty compelling. Can you talk to us about what's available?
Yes, so we have availability from 1 bedrooms up to 4 bedrooms. The 1 bedrooms, we still do have a few under $2 million, starting at about $1,875,000, and going all the way up to our 4 bedrooms and our penthouse units. We have sold a couple of our penthouses.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So we do have a few left, but we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms are starting at around $3 million, a little above $3 million, and 3 bedrooms are starting, about $4.3 million and up.
So it's very good pricing for new construction in New York in a related building in a good location.
Yes, very good pricing. So very well received. We're extremely happy. We're busy. We have lots of appointments every day. Tons of interest. So it's been great.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to just a couple other slides, which I think would be useful to talk about how to purchase in New York, as well as the mortgage process and investment returns. So, every investment is different, and every investment comes with a little bit of risk. But we have laid out on this slide, just for anyone thinking about this building as an investment, or any of our buildings, we've chosen a 1-bedroom at Lantern House, a 2-bedroom at 15 Hudson Yards, and a 3-bedroom at 35 Hudson Yards, and using the asking prices. They're all like kind of best-in-class properties, best-in-class homes, and we can send everyone the floor plan. So if you're interested in renting any of these homes, you see the third row across includes our monthly rent of what you might expect. The common charges are what is paid by the homeowner to the building to operate the building. So that pays for the services, the doorman, some of the utilities, the operation of the amenity spaces on a monthly basis. The real estate taxes, which I mentioned before, at Hudson Yards you have a tax abatement. At Lantern House you don't, but we have the full number there. And then the second to last line is kind of the annual income that one could expect from investing in any of these properties, and the investment yield is at the bottom. So for these buildings right now, we're seeing investment yields just over 3%. You see these specific apartments around 3.1 or 3.2%. That's a going in annual yield. There are no restrictions on raising rents in New York. So none of these are rent controlled properties or rent stabilized properties. You're able to, if the market goes up 10% per year in terms of rental, you're able to actually raise that as well. So that's very favorable for condominium investors. So most investors, when they're buying property in New York, they like the yield, they like that ability to cover any costs and to get some cash flow, but they also look at price appreciation. So as we showed in the earlier chart, there was a fabulous jump in pricing back in 2013, where we saw about 25% increase in pricing and value of the apartment. So if you catch the market right at that time, you can actually see amazing appreciation in the market. For those on the slide now, you are looking at mortgage information. Mortgages are available to overseas buyers throughout Asia and Hong Kong. The typical loan structure of what people are getting, they're getting a 30-year term on their mortgage, but they're getting an adjustable rate, which is locked in for the first 3, 5, 7, or 10 years. And there are also interest-only products. So if you don't want to pay back principal in the first period of time, up to 10 years, you can only pay the interest to keep your monthly payments low. And the investors, of course, love those. Typical interest rates for local New Yorkers buying a primary home are about 2.5 to 3% these days, which is a fabulous interest rate. That's some of the lowest we've ever seen. Foreign buyers do pay more, though. They pay an additional maybe quarter point right now for buying from overseas. The typical loan to value, so the maximum, biggest mortgage you can really get, is usually about 70% of the total home purchase price for an international buyer. And there are, these terms, everybody's different, everybody's situation is different, everybody's property is different. This is just an example. And in this example, we would need an international credit report as well as verified income and assets. If you're not able or willing to do that, you might not have the same terms. You might have to put more money down or have a higher interest rate. But one of the fabulous things about Related is
we have an in-house loan person who can match up any buyer with a bank that works best for them. So it's been very helpful having that. So.
And we have a number of banks that are already pre-approved and are lending in all of the residential buildings. So we have great partnerships there, but you don't have to go out and find that person yourself. Related's Director of End Loan Financing, Mark Flicker, he's able to discuss that with you and help guide you.
I believe if our international buyers or audience, they are having an inquiry about the mortgages or the tax-related issue, they can direct contact you guys, and your contact info actually is placed in our comment box right now in the chat room. So if you have any other questions or inquiry, just place your comments in the comment box, because we know that and understand that all the mortgage, all the money stuff is quite personal, and they have different requirements or different situations. So it's better to contact directly to you guys. Yeah.
咁都講多少少，因為我哋嘅 comment box 上面咧，其實都擺咗related 啦，同埋今一次即係直播一個 general enquiry 嘅 contact information 嘅。咁每個 project 都會即係有唔同 contact 啦。咁所以大家其實如果對即係可能頭先有提到mortgage 有問題嘅話咧，其實 related 咧佢哋係有即係自己一個 team 啦，係關於 mortgage financing 啦。咁所以即係都會為大家咧去諗點樣係一個最佳嘅一個即係投資計劃啊，去幫到大家嘅。係啊 ，OK。Yeah, we just recap in Cantonese because we just encourage. Because all those stuff like quite personal and like need expertise to answer their questions and inquiries. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we have a designated director of end loan financing. We recognize that that's very personal, so not everyone wants to share that with everyone on the team. They're able to go to one person, have that one discussion, and then that person can direct them. It is quite personal, and that information is confidential.
Yeah, it's been very helpful, actually.
Yeah, we take that very seriously.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, so how to buy it? How to purchase?
Well, if you want to purchase right now, so let's just talk about the purchase process in New York. So obviously, the first step is to find a residence that meets your goals. So I would speak to either of our heads of sales, Sherry Toback, Donna Puzio, or myself, and we can give you information and talk to you about what your needs are. Are you buying for a relative? Are you buying for investment? Are you not sure? Are you going to use it as a pied-à-terre sometimes? Are you moving? Are you immigrating? We can talk to you about all of those different situations and help find something that meets your goals.
And we still have a full virtual presentation. So I would do a virtual presentation with somebody overseas, and you can get a really great feel. And now it's all, the virtual presentation has actual photographs and videos of the property since it's complete and ready for immediate occupancy.
Right. All of the homes are built, so we can show you live photography and videography.
Right.
If you are seeking a mortgage, we can connect you with our financing director. you would submit an offer via email to either of our heads of sales. We'd like that in writing, and they would help to negotiate and make sure that the price and all the terms are correct. Now, one of the great things about buying in New York is that we actually do require that all buyers hire a real estate attorney. And this is part of the consumer protection of any person buying property in New York. We have a variety of different attorneys that we can help connect you with that have done transactions with overseas purchasers from really every country in the world. And you can discuss with them any of the questions that you have, and they will represent you in the transaction to make sure that you're handled fairly and honestly. And we have a lot of respect for that. If we agree to terms, what would happen is we would issue you a contract. So the seller's attorney would send to the buyer's attorney a contract, and then within 7 days, you would have to execute and sign it and submit a 20 or a 25% deposit. So of the purchase price, you would have to give 20 to 25%, and then that contract becomes binding. And then at the closing, which is when you actually obtain title and get the keys to the apartment and get to move in and have fun in it, you would pay the remaining balance, so 75 or 80%. And obviously, if you're getting financing, that would happen at that time. Related does have an amazing team designated to closing coordination and making sure buyers are happy with their new home and making sure that every single aspect of the home is really looking perfect from a construction standpoint. So they'll work with you there, the related home expert I talked about as well, and then you're in your new home and you can enjoy it, as a home or as an investment.
係，咁其實我哋都可以 recap 翻少少啦。咁其實究竟點買咧？其實我諗首先其實大家都可能想了解多少少啦。咁可能就係佢嗰個項目，無論個 floor plan 啊，或者可能係個 price list 啊，或者可能係佢其他嘅即係比較詳細啲嘅資訊啦。咁啊，其實咧即係最簡單嘅方法咧，其實咧就係喺我哋 comment box 嗰度咧攞佢個 email。咁其實你就 email 佢哋。咁其實佢哋有專人咧，其實就會同你咧就去解釋即係你嘅疑問啦，或者可能再解釋多少少即係你睇中嗰個項目啦。咁啊之後其實咧佢會再 go through 成個嘅即係嗰個 buying process 俾你㗎。咁所以其實咧我因為時間關係，我哋都唔會話即係咁詳細，即係逐個同再複述多次啦。咁但係其實咧最簡單就係 email 佢哋，咁其實佢哋就會好詳盡咁再話之後再話翻俾你聽啦。Yep. And yeah, we just recap the buying process to our audience in Cantonese. And okay, so thank you, Donna. And so we come to our Q&A sections, and like during our live program and the live streaming program, and we receive some of the questions.
So, we're gonna ask you, but we know that you guys are gonna invite Sherry back to the chat, so we'll give you guys a moment to get ready.
Yeah. Okay. 係啦，咁啊其實咧頭先我哋都即係除咗阿 Dan 同我哋咧都即係 go through 咗究竟即係點解而家點解係一個好嘅時機去投資或者去買即係New York City 嘅房地產啦。咁其實咧緊接咧其實就要同我哋都介紹咗3個咧即係比較 high end 嘅項目㗎。咁其實我見到佢哋其實尤其是我比較深印象啲咧就係最後嗰個嘅 project 就係 Lantern House 啦，即係佢嗰個咧嗰個燈籠型嗰個玻璃窗咧，真係非常之特別，呢時真係好少見。因為通常見到係即係通常有一啲就係小戶型嘅，但係佢呢一個咧其實成個突出嚟咧，即係我覺得好特別咯。其實係
同埋Hudson Yards即係可能都係一個即係而家好 hit 嘅一個 community 啦。無論係佢即係幾棟大樓嘅設計啦，側邊嘅 commercial 啊，或者即係可能係一啲商業嘅配套啦，同埋頭先大家一路都見到佢哋其實現場喺後面嗰個建築啦，其實都係好即係出名嘅一個旅遊景點啦。即係所以即係可能而家可以再飛翻都想去睇下。係啊，嗰個都個 iconic 嘅其實，即係其實基本上你一見到佢咧，你就知你已經係Hudson Yards啦。其實呢個真係非常之特別，因為其實有陣時可能即係太多即係樓咧，即係密麻咧，其實你認唔到啊。但係其實佢呢幾個項目咧，其實就即係非常之即係有佢嗰個獨特之處咯。其實係係啊，好都邀請翻係啦，我哋係啦。 Hi guys.
Hi.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
Welcome back. Okay. We got a few questions. Like, okay, the first one is what's the average discounts offer in the new development at the condo at the moment? And are there other incentives being offered right now? Because we know that the Hudson Yards like 10% off, and the 35 Hudson Yards is a 35.
25.
25. Yeah. So any other discounts?
Well, I'll let you guys speak to that. But we have reduced prices, so that in many cases at Hudson Yards. So you're already getting built-in value. But I'll let my team members speak to
I'll
that.
jump in just a little bit. So at Hudson Yards, as we did mention, there are significant discounts that we've already put into play, which leaves us a tiny little bit of room between what the developer will accept and what, the price that we're quoting. So there is still a little bit of room. Depending upon the apartment, we sometimes will assist with some of the closing costs. So it really does depend on the price of the apartment, how much of a discount we're giving, and how much our lender will allow us to give, because at the end of the day, there's kind of a bottom line price, and below that we just can't go. We are, however, doing everything we can to give our buyers the most value possible.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
and at Mansion House, we have pretty much a similar situation. I mean, we haven't lowered any of our prices, but before we launched, the development did adjust pricing, so we actually are priced to sell. So we started off with really great pricing, and we the same thing where we will help out with some closing costs. There's transfer taxes that a lot of people like to ask the sponsor to pay. They will usually pay that. It's all depending on which apartment it is and what that particular apartment is priced at in the building. So it's very individual depending on the unit. So, and we can help you with that if you are interested in any specific unit.
Basically what we're saying is make an offer, and Donna and I will do the best we can to make you happy and the developer happy as well.
Yeah. So what our audience should do, just email you guys and get the latest
All you
offer.
got to do, it's easy.
Just email,
And I put my WhatsApp QR code there if anybody prefers WhatsApp, wants an instant reaction.
Yeah, and we can also have a chat with you too. I mean, you could email us, just give you a call if you need to speak about it and feel more comfortable after having the conversation.
Exactly.
And of course, we can do a WebEx call, which is our Zoom, which we're related users, so we can have a whole, a Zoom appointment as well.
Yeah. Okay. The second question is that we know that the COVID hit pause on the international buyers in buyers market in New York. And have you seen buyers specifically from Hong Kong buying back in New York? Mm-hmm. Any case study you can share with us? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely true.
We're all nodding. Yes.
One of the interesting things that we noticed is that the vast majority, we really just have reopened the tourism and the international travel market. What's the most interesting thing is that the majority of tourists coming to New York right now actually have family members here, and a number of them have children living here. So families from Hong Kong, the parents are there, the children are here, even if they're adults. So we're seeing a lot of family travel really driving that. And of course, that's a big part of all, investment purchasers or residence purchases, are done together as a family.
Yeah, okay. Yep. The third question is, we hear that the Lantern House was the most successful building launched in 2020. So in your opinion, why has that building been so successful?
I mean, I think it's a combination of a few things. I mean, it's the location, I would say, is the number one point of why it was so successful. People just love Chelsea, West Chelsea, specifically where we're located, right in the center of the Cultural Coast, right in the center of the Starkitect District, just the distance from Chelsea Piers and Chelsea Market and all the valuable things that downtown has to offer, as well as the architecture, and then of course the pricing. We were really priced well and right, and people recognize that right from the beginning. So just a combination.
Yeah, and I would just add that Lantern House is located just 2 blocks from Google's New York headquarters, where they literally have tens of thousands of employees working. So there's this neighborhood just has a lot of interesting tech folk who are involved in venture capital, who are involved in crypto, who are involved in all these different types of businesses, and they like to collaborate and be here because it's an exciting community. So I think that's probably the number one draw when we talk about vacation. These kinds of people like the energy of being together because it's a dynamic of why people come to cities in the first place.
Oh, and the other question is like the 15 Hudson Yards and the 35 Hudson Yards combined that have been the top performing buildings over USD 4 million in your portfolio and one of the top sellers in that market segment in Manhattan. So in today's environment, so what will you attribute the recent uptick to these higher prices residents in Hudson Yards be? Yeah, because we know that the Hudson Yards is the prices is kind of a high end. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Hudson Yards has continually been one of the top performers in the entire New York real estate market, over $4 million. So we included a list here, and it's in the top 5 of all price points. But it is, I think it's been the number 1 for 4 years in a row. Oh, hold on. It's been number 1. Excuse me for anyone who's getting sick. But it's been, it's been the number 1 selling building for sales over 4 million for about 4 years in a row. And here we are, we're back. Okay. And I'll let Sherry just talk about why.
I do think that people recognize that this is not an inexpensive development. But these are super, super luxury buildings with incredible services. And you are living in kind of a for want of a better word, a utopia type society. You're living in a place that is clean and safe and beautiful. You can walk out in the middle of the night to get something to eat, to walk your dog. It's just a really, really gorgeous environment. The finishes in the apartments are beautiful. The amenities are amazing. And just being at Hudson Yards is an experience. It's a city within a city. So yeah, you have to pay a little extra for it, but you're going to pay a little less than you would have paid a few years ago, and certainly a little less than you're going to pay if you wait too much longer.
Mm-hmm. And the last question we got from the audience is for the Hudson Yards, so how much would be the monthly property tax and the management fee?
Mm-hmm. Well, the monthly taxes, as Dan mentioned, because of our 20-year tax abatement, on some apartments you'll pay as little as $30 or $50 a month. Even on a penthouse apartment, we have an incredible penthouse at 35 Hudson Yards that we just launched, which is listed for under $60 million. Even on that, your taxes are only about $2,000 a month. So your monthlies are very, very low. The common charges, as Dan discussed, really cover all of your other expenses. So it's heat, it's hot water, it's cooking gas, it's your use of all the amenities. It pays for the doorman, it pays for cleaning the building, it pays for staffing the building, it pays for keeping Hudson Yards as clean and beautiful and safe as it is. So the numbers are really quite low compared really to any other building in this price point.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Donna, for today sharing. There's so much information about US and introduced as 3 amazing projects to us today. And we're quite kind of excited, and we can't wait to fly over to have a look in person. Actually.
Well, we're excited to have you. We're looking forward to having you here.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
And I believe you have our contact information on the last slide. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, whether you decide that you want to buy at any of our buildings or any other building in New York City. We're more than happy to discuss with you any questions that you have. You have our phone numbers, you have our email addresses, and you have my WhatsApp QR code. So if you have any questions, just please be in touch and we'll do our best to get back to you and discuss any questions that you have personally. So this has been a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah,
so thank you for joining us.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you. See you guys.
Bye from Hudson Yards.
Bye. 係啦。 咁咧其實就即係非常多謝3位啦。其實而家喺即係美國即係嗰邊同我哋啱啱做即係呢個直播啦。咁其實嗰邊都好早啊。咁其實而家咧喺熒光幕見到咧就係3位咧頭先嘅嘉賓咧嘅聯絡資料啊。咁如果咧有啲咩即係可能即係詳細少少嘅問題啦，即係其實無論係關於嗰個項目啦，其實或者可能就係問下啊，不如而家美國點啊？即係究竟投資嗰個回報啊，或者可能係即係投資嗰個即係嗰個 advice 或者 tips 咧，其實咧我諗佢哋都非常之樂意去解答你啦。咁同埋係話，如果我啱啱我有講過就係話稅務啊，或者可能係即係 mortgage 啊嗰啲，咁因為其實咧真係 depends on 即係每個人自己即係個現實個情況啦，同埋其實究竟嗰個depends on 嗰個項目究竟即係唔同嘅單位，其實亦都會可能影響嗰個即係個價錢嗰個嘢啊。咁所以其實咧，大家咧如果有啲乜嘢嘅問題咧，亦都可以咧而家喺熒光幕上面咧見到佢哋個聯絡資料啦、email 啦。咁其實咧亦都可能你話啊，其實我大家抄唔切唔緊要。其實我哋其實 comment box 嗰度咧，其實亦都咧有佢哋嘅同事嗰個 email 啊。咁其實咧你 email 啊，我想即係揾邊位嘉賓，咁我又想即係問邊個嘅項目咧。咁其實咧佢同事咧亦都會咧轉介翻咧即係你嘅資訊咧去翻佢哋相應嘅同事度咯。係啊。
或者咧 cap 唔切都唔緊要嘅，因為我哋等一陣呢個直播咧都會係變成 video 啦，咁都好歡迎大家可以即係翻去即係自己想再重新聽嘅部分啦，或者係去翻呢個頁面嗰度可以 scan 到阿 Dan 嘅 WhatsApp 資料嘅。係啦，咁同埋咧最緊要咧就去翻頭先點睇我哋個 playback video 咧，就去我哋個 GY.Asia Hong Kong 嘅 Facebook 專頁啦。係啦。好啦，咁下次希望係啦，我出翻現先，係啦，下次希望可以再見到大家啦。咁其實都好似即係之前話，即係之前啱啱開場講啦。其實我哋好多國家都好想同大家分享啊。咁其實咧即係啱啱美國，我哋一有新消息，一有比較好嘅即係好嘅比較利好嘅消息咧，我哋都咧急不及待咁同大家去分享啦。咁希望下週見到大家嗰陣時咧，我哋可以講其他嘅國家啦，係啦。咁我今晚咧就係差唔多啦。咁我哋下次再見啦。好，拜拜。